When you change your energy, you change your life. Now, let's demystify that process. Because for the most part, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to date.
Hello guys, we have Dr. Joe Dispenza with us today, and he will try to explain why we don't succeed in manifesting our desired future. As Joe Dispenza said, the worst possible way to create anything is in the state of stress, and the best possible way is to be calm and totally in the present moment, focusing on your desired future with your thoughts and feeling as you already are in that future. I'll leave you with Joe Dispenza now. He will explain everything far better than me. If you are a fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button, and don't miss any of the new videos. Enjoy!
Feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences, and you can remember experiences better because you can remember how they feel. So if you're feeling the same way every single day, that really means nothing new is happening in your life. And if those feelings are driving certain thoughts, and emotions are a record of the past, then most people are thinking in the past. So their biology then literally is rooted in the past. So you can't create a new future if your brain and body are living in the past. So then most people define themselves as a narrative or a story based on the past. Hey, I'm this person, I've done these things, I live in these places, I've owned these things, I know these people. And then you say, oh, well, I know those people, I've been to those places, I've done those things. And when you have a similar experience, you share similar emotions. And if you share similar emotions, emotions are energy. So then we begin to create energetic bonds with things and people in our life. And the problem is that 70% of the time, most people are living by the hormones of stress. And stress is when your brain and body is knocked out of balance. The emotions of stress are anger, aggression, frustration, hatred, judgment, envy, jealousy, fear, anxiety, worry, depression, guilt, shame, unworthiness, hopelessness. They're all created by the hormones of stress. Psychology calls those normal states of consciousness. Those are altered states of consciousness. They're all good for the short term, but not for the long term. The problem with the hormones of stress is that the very rush of chemicals gives the body a rush of energy. So then we use the people and problems and conditions in our life to reaffirm the addiction of the rush of those chemicals. So then we use our best friend to reaffirm our addiction to suffering. We use our boss to reaffirm our addiction to judgment. We use our enemy to reaffirm our addiction to hatred. We use Facebook to reaffirm our addiction to insecurity. We're not conscious that we're doing that, but we're using these things in our external life, and we begin to develop energetic bonds that exist beyond space and time, like the way two atoms of oxygen share information. They're sharing energy, they're sharing electrons. We do the exact same thing in our life. So every person, everything, every place that you've experienced in your life, you have an emotion that's correlated with it, which means you have an energy signature that's interacting in your environment. So we know then that when people get caught in these patterns, they'll tell a story about their past to say, I am this way because of these events. For the most part, in the past. What we do know is that when you combine a clear intention, instead of being defined by a memory of the past, you're going to be defined by a vision of the future. And well, we were just talking just 15-20 minutes ago about a vision. And I saw your energy change, and you got excited. The moment you selected that potential and you started talking about a dream, you were experiencing that future in the present moment, and all of a sudden, you can't live in the emotions of survival. You're starting to feel joy, you're starting to feel inspired, you're starting to feel a gratitude, you're starting to feel optimistic. And when you combine a clear intention and elevated emotion, you're literally taking your biology out of the past, and now you're living in that future biologically in the present moment. Turns out the effects of that is that you begin to change your brain to look like the experience has already occurred. The elevated emotion begins to signal new genes that make new proteins to prepare your body for the event. Now you're no longer living in your past, you're living in that future reality in the present moment. Now, our research shows over and over again, and we've done 7 advanced workshops, we measure all these changes in people. When you're living by the hormones of stress, you're literally drawing from this invisible field of energy around your body, and you're turning it into chemistry. Whether you're angry or frustrated or you're fighting or flighting, whether you're guilty and shameful or digesting a steak, or whether you're over-sexual, you are drawing from energy and turning it into chemistry. These are the survival centers. When people begin to open their heart and the emotions of gratitude, the emotions of care, compassion, kindness, joy, love, if you teach people how to get and lock into this creative center, and as they begin to create that energy, the field around their body, now this is science, the magnetic field around their body can be 9 meters wide. Now they're more energy and less matter. They're more wave and less particle. Now, that's a magnetic field. But what is the carrier of that magnetic field? In other words, all frequency carries information. Radio waves carry information. Your cell phone waves carry information. All frequency carries information. So now you have a person who's heart-centered and they're broadcasting a magnetic signature. The carrier of that is magnetism, but the intention is the information. So now, thoughts are the electrical charge in the quantum field, and feelings are the magnetic charge. So then when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, now you're broadcasting a new electromagnetic energy into the field. And whatever you broadcast into the field is your experiment with destiny. So then it's not enough to just broadcast it once. It's got to become so familiar to you that your energy now is connected to a future and your body is going to be drawn to that event. And we now know that over and over again, that clear intention with an elevated emotion begins to produce an effect on matter. So here's a great example. I was driving over here and I had to do a phone call, and I'm writing a blog about what this project we're going to be doing at the end of the year with our students, a global coherence project to raise the energy of the entire planet. It's possible. And he was having difficulty understanding coherence, and I said, Eric, imagine dropping a pebble in water. When people are able to get heart-centered and stay there, the longer they stay there, the more the waves ripple out. If you only stay there for 1 second, you only drop 1 pebble, and the field dissipates. But if you're able to keep dropping that pebble over and over again, and you're able to sustain that heart coherence, you got a big wave that's coming out. You can see it. But that's the wave. But what's the information carried on the wave? Your intention. So then, if your intention, when you're in that heart-centered place, you can't be selfish in that place. It's impossible to be selfish. These are the centers that are about selfish. You're selfless. You want to contribute. You want to give. You want to make a difference. And so we've done research in our events where we have taken 550 people in a room. We've taken 45 to 50 people in the front of the room wearing heart rate monitors. Now, when you're frustrated and when you're impatient, your heart beats differently than when you're in love and you're in gratitude. So you have 500 people now in the remainder of the room getting heart-centered, cultivating an elevated emotion, resting their attention in that center, and broadcasting a signature into the field of love, with the intention for the greatest good of the people sitting in the front of the room who are wearing the HRV monitors. At the exact same time, at the exact same day, in the exact same meditation, 90% of those people in 1 second move into heart coherence. Now, that's something that's happening in a non-local phenomenon. It's not happening, right, randomly. There's a lock-in that takes place. So the magnetic field is the energy, but the intention is the greater good for the people sitting in the front of the room. Now, let's scale that to a larger scale. Right. But if you had thousands of people doing the same thing, for people in Syria, for people in Iraq, for people that are suffering in Sudan, what if there was a very specific intention behind a heart-centered emotion? What type of effects could we begin to see globally? If you can change a person's emotional state, to gratitude, to inspiration, to hope, to love. That means that they'll accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state, and they'll begin to program their autonomic nervous system into a different pharmacy of chemicals. Now, let's just make this very clear now. In placebo studies, 81% of people who have depression, if they're in a placebo study, and 81% of those people who are taking the placebo actually respond as well to the placebo as they would to an antidepressant. 81%, that's a pretty high study. What that means is they're making their own pharmacy of antidepressants right within. The nervous system is the greatest pharmacist in the world. So what's the relevance, the significance of that? The significance is really simple. When people begin to change their emotional state, they begin to alter who they are. It may take more than one attempt at this, because in that placebo study, they took the placebo for 6 to 8 weeks. Now the pill represented the possibility of them getting well, their thought. When they start looking forward to or anticipating getting better and they feel inspired, when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you're moving into a new state of being. Now the brain and body are no longer living in the past. The brain and body are living in the future, in the present moment, and they're beginning to produce substantial neurological, biological, and genetic changes in their body. But the placebo study for depression, that person took the pill for 6 to 8 weeks, which means you may actually have to change your state of being for 6 to 8 weeks before you begin to see the change.